Hello, church family. I'm Michael Johnson from the Church of the Advent, where our lead pastor is Dr. Y.D.B. Thurgood Jr., and our leading lady is missionary Nakisha Thurgood. And welcome to the Hour of Victory Sunday School. Thank you for your faithfulness of watching us on our social media platforms. Please like, share, and subscribe. Today is July 9th, 2023, and the title of our lesson is Temple Restored. Our Bible base is from Ezra chapter 3, verses 8 through 13. The Bible truth states, God is a restorer. Our memory verse is from Ezra chapter 3, verse 11, and it reads in the King James Version. And they sang together by chorus in praising and giving thanks unto the Lord, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. Now, before I read our Bible text, we recommend you read these additional scriptures, starting with 2 Chronicles 2, 1 through 9, 1 Kings 8, 14 through 30, Matthew 21, 10 through 16, Psalm 66, 1 through 12, and Psalm 5, and incorporate the insight gained into your study of the lessons. Now on to our text in King James Version, Ezra chapter 3, starting at verse 8. Now in the second year of their coming unto the house of God of Israel, in the second month, began Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, Yeshua, the son of Josadak, and the remnant of their brethren, the priests and the Levites, and they that were come out of the captivity unto Jerusalem, and appointed the Levites from 20 years old and upward, to set forward the work of the house of the Lord. Then stood Yeshua with his son and his brethren, Camille and his sons, the sons of Judah, together to set forward the workmen in the house of God, the sons of Henadad, with their sons and their brethren, the Levites. And when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, they set the priests in their apparel with trumpets, and the Levites, the son of Asaph, with cymbals, to praise the Lord after the ordinance of David, king of Israel. And they sang together by chorus in praising and giving thanks unto the Lord, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But many of the priests and Levite and chiefs of the fathers, who were ancient men, they had seen the first house, when the foundation of this house was laid before their eyes, wept with a loud voice, and many shouted aloud for joy, so that the people could not discern the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people. For the people shouted with a loud shout, and the noise was heard afar off. And when the 7th month had come, and the children of Israel were in the city, the people gathered together as one man to Jerusalem. This was an important month on the spiritual calendar of Israel. In the 7th month, they celebrated the Day of Atonement, the Feast of Trumpets, and the Feast of Tabernacles. In a time of small resources and great work to be done, they took the time and money to observe the commands to gather in Jerusalem for major feasts. Yeshua and Zerubbabel, the two main leaders in this rebuilding project, began their work with building the altar that stood outside the temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Out of the rubble of the destroyed temple and its courts, an altar now stood ready to receive sacrifice, both on behalf of the people as a whole and individuals who brought their offering. It is significant that they built the altar in Jerusalem, on the same ground where it had been stood once. This might have reason that the altar, and conceivably also the temple, could go anywhere, because Yahweh was God of the entire earth. Yet in the Jewish mind, there was only one place the altar and the temple could stand, on God's holy hill in his holy land. In building this altar, they formally announced their presence and proclaimed their intentions to rebuild the temple. This also kept the Feast of Tabernacle. This great Jewish feast, one of the three major feasts of Israel, celebrate God's faithfulness to Israel during the wilderness journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. During this feast, the families of Israel were commanded to camp out in temporary shelters, meaning to remind them of what their forefathers lived during the time of Exodus. In this context, when in returning to a destroyed city, they were forced to live this way until they could properly rebuild. The Feast of Tabernacles held a special meaning for those returning Jews to Judah. Now, the work seemed to begin as soon as it could, allowing the logistic preparation described in Ezra chapter 3, verse 7. Significantly, the site was called the House of God at Jerusalem before the temple was built and while the former temple was still in ruins. The law of Moses commanded that the Levites begin their service at 30 years of age. David changed the starting point for Levitical service to 20 years of age. Now, under the leadership of Zerubbabel and Yeshua, they adopted David's revised practice. Now, when the builders laid the foundation for the temple of the Lord, this was a memorable scene. The priests were dressed in their ceremonial apparel. The musicians were ready to praise the Lord, and the instruments and the song, and they sang responsively in their arrangement and presentation. They praised the Lord because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. It was an appropriate, joyful occasion. Since the destruction of the temple under the Babylonian conquest, there had been no proper place for sacrifice and worship for the people of Israel. And another important step was made in the long and difficult process of the restoration of the biblical worship and the service of God. Now, the older man knew that this temple was never a match upon the glory of the first one. After all, King Solomon spent the modern equivalent of $5 to $8 billion on building the first temple. They also had the memories of the horrible end of the first temple, and these combined with the joy of the restoration to make profound mixed feelings in the old men. The younger, who had no remembrance of the prior temple, felt nothing but joy in seeing the important steps in the restoration of the temple and its worship, so that people could not discern the noise of shout of joy from the noise of weeping of the people. This profound scene showed the extent of the mixed feelings among the people. Now, Ezra chapter 3 is all about a new beginning or realignment with God. There has been a pioneering stage of reestablishing Jerusalem. But now Ezra realized that it was time to restore worship and honor God in Jerusalem. It was a time of a new beginning in Israel. And as we read through the passage, we have witnessed key points that we can note if we want to succeed in making new beginnings with God or a realignment. Put God first and put him back in the center. Worship him and rebuild the altar. Join us next week where our lesson is dedication of the temple. We're still in the book of Ezra, chapter 6, verses 13 through 22. We will understand that we should celebrate with joy what God has done in our lives, desire to celebrate God's blessings with joy, and celebrate God's blessings with joy. We hope you have a great day. Thank you for inviting us into your home week after week. Have a blessed afternoon.